What if I told you that Brazil's biggest challenge at FIFA 2026 isn't France, it isn't Argentina, it isn't England, and it isn't even their defense? It's one player, a player millions believe could become the next face of world football, a player who has already conquered Europe, a player whose talent is almost impossible to deny. Vinicius Jr, but hidden behind the goals, the trophies, and the highlights. There is a question nobody wants to ask, because if the answer is no, Brazil's World Cup dream could collapse. And if the answer is yes, Brazil might finally become champions again. This isn't a story about skill, it's a story about pressure, and it might decide the entire FIFA World Cup. For over 20 years, Brazil has been searching for the next great leader, the next icon, the next football king. They've had stars, they've had talent, they've had world-class squads, but since 2002, they have not had a World Cup trophy. Now, as FIFA 2026 approaches, millions of Brazilian fans are looking at one man, Vinicius Jr., and whether that's fair or not, he may carry the biggest burden in football. For most countries, wearing the national team jersey is an honor. For Brazil, it's a burden, a beautiful burden, a burden created by legends. Pelé, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Kaká, Neymar. Every generation had a hero. Every generation had a player who carried the hopes of millions. And now, that responsibility is moving toward Vinicius Jr. The problem is not that he lacks talent. The problem is that Brazil does not compare its stars to ordinary players. Brazil compares them to immortals. When Vinicius scores, people celebrate. When he doesn't, people ask questions. Not because they hate him, because they expect greatness. And expectations in Brazil are different from expectations anywhere else in football. Winning matches is not enough. Playing beautiful football is not enough. The only thing that matters is lifting the World Cup. And that pressure grows every single day. Because every year that passes without a trophy, the hunger becomes stronger, the questions become louder, and the spotlight becomes brighter. Now, as FIFA 2026 approaches, that spotlight is pointing directly at Vinicius Jr. It's easy to understand why people believe his speed is terrifying, his dribbling is unpredictable, his confidence is fearless. Defenders know what he's about to do, and they still struggle to stop him. He's already performed on football's biggest club stages. He's already won major trophies. He's already delivered in massive moments. Everything about his career suggests he is ready. And that's exactly why the expectations have become so dangerous. Because when a player becomes this good, people stop asking whether he can succeed. They start expecting him to succeed every single time. And football doesn't work like that. The game is unpredictable. One bad match can change public opinion overnight. One missed chance can become a national discussion. One difficult tournament can completely change a player's reputation. The higher you climb, the harder the fall feels. And Vinicius is climbing faster than almost anyone in world football. Most people think Brazil's biggest challenge is tactics. Others think it's defense. Some believe it's squad depth. But the real problem is much harder to see. It's pressure concentration. For years, Brazil's expectations were spread across multiple stars. Now, those expectations are slowly gathering around one name, Vinicius Jr. When fans feel nervous, they look at him. When the team struggles, they look at him. When Brazil needs inspiration, they look at him. That level of attention changes everything, because football is not only physical, it's psychological. The more responsibility a player carries, the harder every decision becomes. The harder every mistake feels, and the louder every criticism sounds. The world sees the goals, the highlights, the celebrations. But nobody sees the weight. Nobody sees the pressure. Nobody sees what happens inside a player's mind when an entire nation expects miracles. There is another challenge, a challenge that follows Vinicius everywhere. The shadow of Neymar. For more than a decade, Neymar was the face of Brazilian football. Everything revolved around him. Every World Cup dream, every major tournament, every national expectation. Now football is entering a new era, and whether people realize it or not, they are searching for the next symbol, the next superstar, the next player capable of carrying the country. That search always creates pressure, because fans don't just want another great player, they want another icon, and icons are judged differently. Every move is analyzed, every performance is compared, every failure is remembered. Vinicius isn't only trying to win football matches, he's trying to create his own legacy while living under the shadow of the previous one. And that's one of the hardest things any athlete can do. Club football and World Cup football are not the same. At club level, players have months to recover from mistakes. At the World Cup, one mistake can last forever. One bad game can end years of preparation. One moment can define an entire career. That's what makes the tournament special, and that's what makes it terrifying. Because talent alone isn't enough. The World Cup tests composure. It tests leadership. It tests emotional control. It tests how players react when everything is on the line. And nobody truly knows how a tournament will affect someone until they're living inside it. History is filled with incredible players who struggled under World Cup pressure, and history is filled with players who became legends because they embraced it. The difference between those two outcomes is often measured in moments. Just moments. Imagine this. Quarterfinal. The score is level. The clock is running down. Millions are watching. An entire nation is holding its breath. Then the ball arrives at Vinicius Jr.'s feet. One decision. One touch. One shot. One moment. That is the reality of the World Cup. Everything can change in seconds. Heroes are created in seconds. Legacies are built in seconds. And sometimes, dreams disappear in seconds. Those moments are coming, not just for Brazil, but specifically for Vinicius. Because whether people admit it or not, he is becoming the player everyone will look toward when the pressure reaches its highest point. So what is the problem nobody is talking about? It's not speed. It's not skill. It's not tactics. It's not talent. The problem is expectation. The problem is the impossible standard created by Brazil's history. The problem is carrying the hopes of millions while trying to write your own story. Because every touch will be analyzed, every decision will be debated, every mistake will be remembered, and every success will be compared to legends. That is the challenge standing in front of Vinicius Jr. Not opponents, not critics, history itself. Maybe he is ready, maybe he isn't. But one thing is certain. When FIFA 2026 begins, Brazil will not simply be chasing a trophy. They will be chasing an answer. Can Vinicius Jr. become the leader Brazil has been waiting for? Can he transform expectation into glory? Can he carry the weight of the yellow shirt when the entire world is watching? Because if he can, Brazil might finally return to the top of football. And if he can't, the wait for another World Cup could continue. The world is about to find out.